Sit right down, let's talk on Blackwell's Bench.
Thank you for saving me.
Don't miss your moment. Take the time. Slow down. Speak with sincerity. Look into their eyes like it's eternity. Shake hands and feel their touch. It may be the last touch, the last glance, the last I care, the last I love you. Don't miss your moment. Endure with one another. Love unconditionally when justified to hate. Seek to understand rather than to be understood. Bring sunshine in the midst of darkness. Forgive and live with no regrets. Provide joy where there is sadness. Weep with those who weep. Rejoice with those who rejoice. Don't miss your moment. Don't miss your moment.
Hello, my name is Phoebe, and today I am here on Blackwell's Bench, and I'm very pleased to have a wonderful guest with me today. Her name is Mary Carter. How are you doing today?
I'm wonderful today,
Good,
Phoebe.
thank you.
Thank
Now, Mary,
you.
can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, well, I am a native of North Carolina, but also a citizen of Philadelphia for 30 years, and I currently reside in Fort Mill, South Carolina. And it's always just so good to come home to reunite with family. And today I am just so excited to officially be in the studio of Blackwell's Bench.
It's wonderful having you here.
Thank you.
Now, Mary and I just recently personally met, but we have been corresponding on Facebook and on social media, so I feel like I already know you.
Yes.
It's definitely a pleasure to get the chance to sit and talk with you.
Likewise.
Now, Mary has been doing some film projects, and that's what we're going to talk about today. We're just going to find out some information about what she's worked on and what she's been working on. Now, what made you pursue a film career?
Well, for years, even in high school, I was always drawn to the drama club. And that was my beginning of spoken word and public speaking. And then at the Vine Street Church of Christ, I started a drama guild called Action Stage Right and began to write mini skits. And I wrote a mini play called The Resurrection Will Not Be Televised. And that is included in my collection of poetry. And I'm very excited about that. So what happened in 2014, one of my best friends was diagnosed with pancreas cancer. And when he turned 60, he had a videographer to video his party. And when I saw the film, I just felt like I was there live all over again. And so Damon Welch is the name of the professional videographer. And I said, you do such good work. What can you see yourself doing with your talent? And he said, well, I would like to spread the gospel through multimedia. I says, I have so much material. Let's partner up. Let's do it. And that was when Don't Miss Your Moment was birthed. But it was birthed from a poem that I wrote for a sister who was fatally killed in a car accident. Normally, I'll sing at the funeral, but I decided to write a tribute to her. I wanted everyone to think, when was the last time that you saw Pam and what was the conversation? And so now I tell people, don't miss your moment. When you look at them like you're looking through eternity. And when you shake their hand, actually feel their touch. Because it could be the last glance, it could be the last touch, it could be the last I love you. Don't miss your moment.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now you mentioned just now you mentioned the Vine Street. I was at the Vine Street Church of Christ.
Yeah, 63rd and Vine Street in Philadelphia.
Okay, and how long? Now, what church are you presently going to?
I am a member of the Gold Hill Church of Christ in Fort Mill, South Carolina, where I currently reside. It is the same faith, but I was born into this wonderful faith. My father, Quincy Carter, was a minister in Statesville, North Carolina.
Okay.
And my grandmother and I moved to Philadelphia, and I was baptized at Girard Avenue Church of Christ when I was 7, which moved to Vine Street in 1975. So it's my life.
Okay, and it's funny because you mentioned the gospel in your speaking just a few minutes ago. Your projects are gospel based. Can you speak just a little bit about that
They
for
are
us?
spiritually based in order for people to have a spiritual awareness, because nothing in life stays the same. I do believe in a hereafter, so we have to know what we're here after.
Exactly.
So I want to bring awareness to that. Don't just live in the moment, but prepare yourself for your citizenship eternally. So it's just practical and it's relevant.
Very good. Thank you. Now, what roadblocks have you faced when you're starting out?
Well, it is very important to work with competence, with people who say what they mean and mean what they say, who are committed. That can cause a lot of stress in a project when you're depending on someone else's expertise, but they're not dependable. That can be discouraging. You never change the goal, you change the time for the goal. But just be determined. It took me 2 years for this project to be finalized, but it was the journey was wonderful with all the conflicts. But there was so much opportunity, because when one thing didn't work, I looked for another opportunity, and there was always a door ready for me to walk through.
Great. Now, with that being said, what would you say would be one of your greatest achievements during this time?
My creativity. The film came together not all at once. I'm a night owl, and I'll be dreaming and wake up, oh, this was a really good idea, and I'll write it down. And then I'll find a way. For instance, when we did the homeless scene of Dear Christians, and there was a restaurant that was no longer in business, I said, that would be a perfect place to film. So the next day, I went to the store, got permission from the manager, and he said yes. That's how you know when something is supposed to happen, when doors keep opening.
Exactly, yes.
And I was a legal secretary for years, so I had it written up, and he signed the contract so that I could go on his premises and film. And it was just perfect. That's when I knew. And it was a snowy day, even though it was in Charlotte, North Carolina. There was ice on the ground, and we weren't sure if we were going to be able to do it. So I asked a young lady who had known for years. She has a beautiful speaking voice. And she says, yes, I'll play the homeless woman.
Wow.
After that, it was go all the way.
Very good.
Yeah,
Very
exciting.
good. Now, can you tell us how you came up with the idea for the film?
I wanted to capture all of my gifts, the spoken word, the singing, the poetry, and also the ministers who would tell their story, because we're living in an age where everything is changing. from the White House to the church house.
Exactly.
And this is a way for people to stop and to think. And then when I reached out to the people that were part of the film, they were excited about it because it never been done before. And they tell their story, and it just encouraged me, and it encouraged other people because someone can relate to someone. Every speaker has a different story, but every story has a purpose.
Very nice. Now, with the Don't Miss Your Moment project, that was a very wonderful project that you did. Do you have any upcoming things going on or projects coming up?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I speak inspirationally when I am invited to a lot of spiritual venues. I just did a workshop on grief and sorrow in Abbeville, South Carolina. And last year, I went to Durham and was asked to do a segment on Seek the Kingdom First. You know, because people have priorities out of order. Work comes first, fun comes first, but it should be God first, family second, and your career third. And so at my congregation in Fort Mill, I teach classes with the ladies, and I'm excited about that. Upcoming in September, I'll be the coordinator for our program.
Now, you talked about a lot of engagements that you have coming up. How do you like public speaking, or how did you get into public speaking and traveling around?
Well, I've been in the public eye since I was a young woman in college because I sing and directed choruses. And teaching Bible classes and being invited to ladies' days, that was the beginning of my journey. So my profile is online. So when people are looking for a speaker, they find me. They see my credentials and they see my experiences listed, and I get invited. I rarely say no. Rarely.
That's wonderful. So going forward, do you have any upcoming speaking engagements?
Kenya
Okay.
is it.
Yeah, you mentioned Africa. Yes, okay.
In September, I will be doing lessons in my congregation on the heart. And we have a book that will be assigned. You know, everything that happens in life, everything comes from the heart. And not the heart pump, but the heart of the mind. The heart of the mind. So we're going to deal with the heart. And I'll be doing that in September.
Getting back to talking about your writing. Now, do you think that a person could be a writer if they don't have strong emotions or emotional connections?
That's a good question. I've always written from extreme passion, whether it was joy or sadness. My first poem was a dedication to Daddy. I was 14 years old when I wrote it. He died in front of my eyes. That was very traumatic for a child. And so I cried, and when I had finished, I had no more tears. I began to write. And that's when I learned that writing is therapy for me. I've written some love songs when I was deeply in love. So I write from extreme passion,
Right.
extreme sadness, or extreme joy. It's easier. It flows naturally. If you're not feeling it, it's harder for it to be written.
Right.
You have to feel what you write. It has to be an experience.
Now, if you could talk to your younger self, what advice would you give your younger self on becoming a writer or doing publishing or public speaking? What would the conversation be like between yourself and your younger self?
Slow down. Focus. Stop moving so fast. Pay attention to your messages. I missed opportunities when I was young because I was everything to everybody. I really didn't know who I was. I didn't have a single purpose. And when I turned a certain age, I realized that I had the people-pleasing disease and I didn't even know it. I had given Mary away. When I found that out, I drew back. I rediscovered Mary again, and I got on track.
Very nice. What advice would you? Because now I've got all kind of questions in my head, so I think we've kind of sparked this up. What advice would you give the sisters out there, the women out there that are looking to pursue writing or would be interested in public speaking? What advice would you give them to get started with it, or how would they kind of find their passion if that was something that they were interested in?
I want to share something that can be negative, but it was a positive. When I was 25 years old looking for direction, and I said, I want to do motivational speaking. And I called the company and told them what I wanted to do. And the response that I got from the administrator, well, who are you? It would make you think anyone would hear what you had to say. And she hung up. And I was like, I was appalled.
Exactly.
I never forgot it. But it taught me something, that you have to have something to offer. You have to meet the need. So when it comes to writing or anything that you're going to do, you have to know who your audience is, who you're going to market yourself to. When I published my collection of poetry, and my printer says, well, do you need help with marketing? I says, no, I have a venue. He said, well, you know, only about 5% will purchase your books. I said, well, my average is 20% because they know the author. Mm-hmm. And he said, awesome. Many people write books, and it's good to them, only them.
Right.
And no one else wants to hear that story. So writing should be to give yourself away. It shouldn't be a self-centered thing. What can I write to help someone else? One of my poems is Gone But Not Forgotten. Renewed Like an Eagle. I've fallen and I can't get up. Things that will encourage people. And one of the sisters that I know was going through something distressful, especially when people experience loss from death, I'll give them the book just for consolation. And it's relevant. It's soothing. And because I've been through pain and I've been through loss, I know how to write to reach someone.
Now, would you say that your writings and your poems, are they your testimonies or testimonies of maybe situations or people you've been around or involved with?
It's a combination. It's a combination of my life experiences and the experiences of other people. A lot of my poetry is inspired by my meditation into the Bible. Renewed Like an Eagle was a revelation from Psalms. Sounds of God was a revelation, inspiration from the book of Job. So the more spiritual you are, the thoughts will come. And I write them down as they come. They develop.
Now that was one of the questions that kind of hit me when you were talking. All of your writings, and I want to say just about everything you do, correct me if I'm incorrect, is faith-driven.
Is that
correct?
You are correct.
Okay, could you speak a little bit about that?
You are correct. It is faith-driven. One of my favorite poems, when I wrote it, I remembered it. A lot of my poetry, I write and I read. The things that are close to my heart. One of my godbrothers had hit rock bottom, and he wouldn't return my phone calls. I couldn't reach him. So I tried to put myself in his position, because that was therapy for me. Mm-hmm. And when I wrote the poem, then I was okay. It was like, in a world of confusion, I've been born where faces of illusions are worn that have me entrapped like thistles and thorns, where I've fallen and I can't get up. I thought when I looked, I stood, and when I thought I could, I stepped, and I stepped it in the pit so deep to even weep where I've fallen and I can't get up. Well, who's listening to my weeping, and who's listening to my wailing, and who's mending my broken heart from Satan's venomous darts where I've fallen? I can't get up. Where is the love I thought I knew? Now love is lost and friends are few. But if there be wings, like a dove, please fly to me. Fly to where I've fallen and I can't get up. I never forgot that because it was connected to my heart.
Mhm.
After I wrote it, I was free. I wrote that 30 years ago. Never forgot that poetry.
Wow, absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. What does literary success look like to you?
Not the conventional. I do it as a hobby. I do it as a ministry. I don't have any monetary goals with it at all. I met someone who wanted to redo my book to have it bookstore savvy, and I really wasn't interested in that. In the circle that I'm in, if I have an opportunity to be a vendor, then my books are there. When I travel and do my public speaking, the books are there. That's my audience, and I'm open to someone opening up another door for me when it comes to that.
Now, Mary, in the film Don't Miss Your Moment,
Yeah.
there were a couple actors that I'd like to ask you about, and maybe you can just give us a little bit more background. Understand Alvin Daniels, we had Henry Flores, and Dean Meadows. Can you tell us a little bit about them?
Oh, and this is how the film started in November of 2014. Alvin Daniels was the first one that was recorded, and he happened to be in Charlotte doing a revival. He would be perfect because he does 3-minute devotionals. He's been doing it for years. And I said, I need somebody to get to the point, get to the point real quick. I knew he could. So when I told him my concept, he says, wow, I'm honored to be a part. So he came over to the church building impromptu at 4 o'clock that afternoon, and he filmed his story. He has 2 presentations. The second one is more personal on Don't Miss Your Moment for him, where he thought he was dying. He had a stroke. And he said, God, please don't let this happen to me now. I don't want to give too much of this away. But he gave his own testimony about Don't Miss Your Moment. Now, Henry Flores is in a wheelchair. I met him at Vacation Bible School at the Southern Hills Church of Christ, where Jeffrey Pointer is minister. And it's no accident that I met any of these people. And when he told his story, I was on the edge of my seat. And he gave up all of his riches and his horses and his ranch. He lives in a traveling mobile unit, and he preaches in the streets. And he's Hispanic, so he really is supportive of the Hispanic congregations. That's what he does full time. So I didn't have his phone number. It took me about 6 months. And I just kept asking. And that's the other key to success. Ask, ask, ask. You never know. Keep asking. And I asked this one elder, I'm trying to contact Brother Flores. He said, here's his number right here. I was so happy, and I called him and told him what my idea was. He said, wow, it's never been done before. It needs to be done. You have my cooperation. So because he travels all over the country, we had him Skyped.
Okay.
And he tells his story. Riveting. It is the climax of the film to me. And then while we were in the middle of filming the homeless scene, I asked Jamie, I need someone else, because I want it to be diverse and multicultural. I need one other person to complete my images. And she says, my minister in Gastonia, he'll do it. And she called Dean on the phone. I says, Dean, we're in the parking lot, we're filming, and we want you to be a part of this. He said, sure, come to the church building.
Oh, wow.
I had all my speakers.
Yes.
So everything, and that's what was so sweet about the journey, how everything fell by divine order. It did.
Exactly.
That's how I got
Wonderful.
my speakers. And Dean is an intellectual, and his specialty is conversing with atheists.
Okay.
So he gets his spin on the reality and the truth about the cross, about the existence of God at the end of the film. So I got all the diversity that I needed.
Oh, very good.
And each character has a story.
Very good.
worth hearing. Yes.
Yes, exactly. I think we all have a story. I think that's
Just gotta tell it.
You just
Don't
gotta
keep it
tell
to yourself.
Exactly, and it encourages other people.
And also, we have to remember that the graveyard is the richest place in the world because that's where our dreams and stories are buried. We never want to die without our story told.
Exactly.
Be sure you get your story told, baby.
Thank you. Now, Mary, we've talked a lot about your writings, about your poems, and definitely about the movie. Does writing exhaust you or does it energize you?
It energizes me. And believe it or not, I love to drive across the country. Usually I love to drive to Philly. I love to drive anywhere. And that's when my ideas come to me. I love nature. I love woods. I love birds. I love clouds. And a lot of my poetry has come from driving and being exposed. There was a poem, You've Chosen Me. My godfather was dying from cancer. And I was putting myself in, what must he be thinking on his deathbed? And I wrote this on the way from Philadelphia. And it was, it's like a song. You gave me life when I was dead in sin. You sent your son to bring me back again. You've chosen me. Now, when this life is over and I can't be found, I want to live on higher ground. Remember me, you've chosen me. And it's a song. So writing comes easy to me. It's not exhausting, it's exhilarating. Because there's a particular theme of the writing. There's a purpose for the writing. I'm just not writing to be writing. One of my favorite poems was Dark Cloud, Silver Line. And I wrote about a chorus of blackbirds. And this was in the 90s. I was sitting on a park bench in Society Hill on Chestnut Street. I had come from the movies from the Bourse Building. And I was sitting, and next to me, there were birds. All these black birds. I'll write about anything. And then they were chirping, and then I saw them fly. And I thought about behind every dark cloud, there's a silver lining. And blackbirds do sing. So I am inspired, and that's when I write. I loved riding the 15 trolley and the 52 bus in Philadelphia. Drama.
Always.
And I would write about comical things. And one of my favorite poems, and I did it in a skit, is called Handsome Harry. And this is a true story. So it was a holiday like the 4th of July. And I was on my way downtown. I love Penn's Landing. And he got on, and he was a reddish guy. He was intoxicated, and he says, he was talking to this woman, "Hi." And she said, "Hi. That's all I can get from you? My name is Handsome Harry. I'm not the fighter, I'm just the lover." He says, "Yeah, I ran up against that brick wall, but it was the alcohol, y'all. I'm Handsome Harry." And I wrote about that because I was just fascinated. And then one night, there was a gentleman that got on, and he was just singing spirituals. He got on, and I write about the guardian angel. There was a man, he looked homeless, but he wore the same coat all the time. I would always see him. And one day I was catching the bus, and I says, "Good morning." He says, "Good morning to you." And he said, "From whence do you come?" And I says, "Well, I'm coming from Bible class." He says, "Be sure you put your trust in Jesus." And he's my guardian angel every time I would see him. So I was always inspired to write by, I'm just very discerning. I stare a lot. I discern a lot. And it gives me something to share.
Now, if we talked a little bit about having a story, if someone had a story that they wanted to tell, how would they go about getting that out? How do you pull out of someone, or someone pulls out of themselves, the story that they would like to tell people?
Put it on paper or record it. I mean, we have so much technology now. People are doing selfies and videos, and video yourself and have it recorded and meditate on it and be passionate about it, be resilient and be persistent and be determined that you're going to get the story out. Especially to women, if they have been abused or molested or in an abusive relationship, or men who've been abused. Abuse does not discriminate.
Right.
You have a story. You can go to the shelter. You can tell your story to give people hope. But it should be positive. There's enough, what word should I use? There's enough drama and negativity. Let me just say it. There's enough trash out there. Mm-hmm. We want substance to be shared, to give people hope. We don't want them drowning in despair. Because what we think about, we become. What we think about, we bring about. That's what I'm trying to say. Right. Junk in, junk out.
Exactly.
If you read junk all the time, you're going to have a junky mindset and you do junky things. One of my cousins said something, messy people always make a mess. Yes. You don't want to be messy. You want to keep hope alive. You know, one of the favorite things that I say in my speeches, you want to be sunshine. When you walk into the room, you want to bring sunshine. Some people leave the room and the sun shines when they leave. Right. We don't want to be that. We want to bring it in. We don't want the sun to shine when we leave.
Exactly.
So I just always wanted to be an inspiration. And that is something that an older sister told me when I was young in my it's so important to be around sage people that love you, to tell you who you are. We can't discover ourselves on our own. Someone can see something in you. I never thought about that. I was 22 years old. She says, Mary, you know what you are? You are a living inspiration. I never forgot that. Mm-hmm. And I had named my singing group The Inspirations, even before she said that. Wow. So everything that I do, my poetry, my singing, my documentary, Don't Miss Your Moment, it is for your inspiration.
Very good, thank you. Now you just mentioned something that you had said a little bit earlier. You mentioned your singing. Can you tell us a little bit about your singing, how you started, or just a little bit about it?
Well, it's a gift that I inherited from my parents. They both sang. And I was in the chorus, and I'll never forget, my choral teacher also was my English teacher, Mrs. Kirk. And we were in class singing, and she says, you have the most beautiful alto I've ever heard. I said, really? So I started in the chorus. Mm-hmm. And then I went to college, and I sang in the chorus. And then I was inspired by Dorothy Wells, who is the director of the Easterneers, and the Excellos and the Enchanters, the smaller groups. And when I was in high school, my trio started. There was Loretta, myself, and Jackie, mm-hmm. and we sang trios. And we started singing in class and singing for other people. And I said, we're really good. I'm into harmony, mm-hmm. all of that harmony. And so I was always the leader of organizing vocal talent, not making noise, but making music with a message. One of the songs I used to love to sing, give me my flowers while I can smell them. Speak kind words to me now while I can hear them, so they can bring the comfort that I bring. So we want to give flowers to people while they're alive.
Right.
Not when they're dead, when they are alive. So my mission is to inspire in everything that God has given to me. When He comes to get me, I want to be empty. I've given everything back to Him that He's given to me. He's given me so much. It's an honor to give it back.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, it has been a pleasure sitting here talking with you today. Now, as we get ready to close, can you, I know, because we could probably sit here and talk all day. Can you just tell the audience, leave us on with some inspiration?
Sure.
And just fill us up with what you got to tell us.
Oh, well, I'll just make it quick and say, don't miss your moment. Life is short. All we have is today. Live every moment today like it's your last day. My project, Don't Miss Your Moment, is about it being an icebreaker to bring people together, to generate conversation, to talk about greater things that are important. Money you can make, money comes, money goes, but the most important thing that we have, they're our relationships, the people that we love. Hold on, cling to them Love with no regret. Give yourself away. And my favorite chapter is 1 Corinthians, the 13th chapter, that love, it doesn't keep account of a wrong suffered. It never fails. It bears all things. It hopes all things. It does not seek to have its own way. It endures. It's not jealous. It's not controlling. You can be free. Don't miss your moment to be free. And I hope that you enjoy the project and that you will receive it in the love in which it was given. It's just been such a pleasure to share. Don't miss your moment with you.
Thank you.
Okay. You can access Don't Miss Your Moment on Blackwell's Bench. In addition to Mary's motivational moments, my lessons, my singing, and it would just be a pleasure for you to go to Blackwell's Bench, check out the playlist, and don't forget to subscribe to Blackwell's Bench.
This has been Phoebe, and thank you for watching Blackwell's Bench.
Don't miss your moment. Take the time. Slow down. Speak with sincerity. Look into their eyes like it's eternity. Shake hands and feel their touch. It may be the last touch, the last glance, the last I care, the last I love you. Don't miss your moment.
There's a seat for everyone on Blackwell's Bench. Blackwell's Bench.